Hi there guys, and welcome to another episode of the Cover Zero Show with me, your host, Simon Conboy. This will be another episode in the draft preview series, this episode focusing on the Super Bowl runner-up Atlanta Falcons. So if you've not seen one of my draft previews before, what I'm doing is I'm going through all the what I consider the major free team needs heading into the draft, with free agency essentially having wrapped up at this point, giving my first round mock selection and then discussing what players may be targeted or available in rounds 1, 2 and 3 for selection in order to address those team needs. So the Falcons, in terms of their needs, I've got the guard spot. Chris Chester has retired. Now offensively, the unit's got a lot of continuity going on other than losing the offensive coordinator Shanahan. No other real losses to this offense. However, Chester retired. Andy Levitra is getting up there in age, as is Alex Mack. So I think interior lineman is a need, as well as that defensive end, even defensive tackle. Dontari Poe is only on a 1-year deal after all. And outside backer, they need more pass rush. Those are the three primary needs I've got heading into the draft. Now, in my mock, I've got the Falcons getting quite lucky, and they managed to get Forrest Lamp at the end of the first round, which I think would be a wonderful selection. I've got no doubt if he's available, he will be strongly considered, and I think he'd likely be the pick, step in on day one and keep that offensive line humming along like it was last season, or at least that would be the hope. Other players I think they could consider at the end of round one and could look for a pass rusher. I've got Charles Harris available in my mock. I think Jordan Willis is a guy who's, from what I've been able to find, apparently he's rising up draft boards. I think he'd be a nice complement to Vic Beasley as a pass rusher. I think either of the defensive tackles, Caleb Brantley or Malik McDowell, I think they'll both be available at this point. They do have some issues, and I think they've both got a lot of upside and could be top players. I think either of them would be worthy of consideration at this point in the draft. They could also look to get another corner, because simply you can never have too many corners. Gurion Conley could still be available. Tre'Davious White. Those are the sort of guys that might be looked at that spot. Possibly Dan Feeney as well, if there is a good chance Forrest Lamp is off the board at this point. Dan Feeney is the next guard on most boards. I think he'd also be worthy of consideration. In round 2, well, also round 3, it can be a little bit fluid at that point. I've got them taking Donta Foreman in my round 2 mock that I did last Friday. Simply put, I'm not sure if they'll be able to retain Devonta Freeman. If he wants a really, really big contract, I think he'll be seen as the more expendable of the two between him and Telvin Coleman, due to Coleman still being under a rookie contract and potentially being the tougher style of running back to find. It's easy to project guys to say, oh, they'll be good in the passing game in the NFL, but it's not always the case, whereas they do have one there. I think Donta Foreman would be able to probably not do it as well. I think Freeman's become a very, very good running back, but I think he'd be seen as an adequate replacement. I think if he's there at the end of round 2, it's certainly something they consider. I could be crazy for thinking this, but I think it's something they certainly do consider. Ethan Pocic, I think he'd be fantastic for them if he's available there. As I say, Alex Mack's getting older. Levitra is, he'd be able to potentially fill in whatever spots are available along the interior. Versatile player, always valuable. Again, those two DTs, I don't know if either one of them's available at this point, whilst I am pretty convinced they'll be available at the end of round 1. Certainly possible, especially McDowell, that he falls to this point in round 2. If either one does, I cannot see them not selecting them. Any of the safeties that I've mentioned in previous videos, whether that's Buda Baker, or even a guy like Desmond King, Marcus Williams, I think if any of them fall to this point, they will be considered, even if it's not necessarily a huge need. There's possible Jordan Willis available at this point. He might not be rising up boards as quickly as people think. Tyrus Bowser is someone whose name I've seen thrown around. He could be round 2, round 3. I'm not sure what his range is going to be. in round 3, guys, I think will be available for selection. Isaac Asiata, the offensive guard, could see him being selected. Derek Rivers, if they still need to find that outside rusher, I think he could play standing up for them. Larry Ogunboge, or Boje, however that's pronounced, he's a raw but highly gifted defensive lineman. I could see him being worth a flyer at the end of round 3. Montavious Adams could also be considered at that spot. And Nico Siragusa, I don't know where he's going to go, but he's another guard that I could see them considering. He'd be well worth a shot in round 3, possibly even at the end of round 2, depending how much value they're putting on filling that guard spot. So that's the Falcons. What do you guys think they're going to do? What do you think their major needs are, and where would you like to see them go in round 1? Of course, it can be tougher to predict who's going to be available at the back end of that round. Do they even consider trading down? There's going to be a chance teams are looking for quarterbacks depending what happens with them in this draft. It's a very tough call where the quarterbacks are going to start going this year. Let me know whether it's in the comments below, whether it's through the Cover Zero Facebook, or find me on Twitter at Simon Conboy. I'll do my absolute best to get back to everyone who does make any contact. Always appreciated when people do. This week, going to be carrying on NFC South tomorrow, Panthers and Saints, then the AFC South on Wednesday and Thursday. Friday will be the weekly review as per, with the 3rd round of my mock draft. I may also redo rounds 1 and 2 and quickly go over changes there. And I've also got 2 special episodes coming up this week. The quarterback quandary for the Houston Texans, especially in the wake of the Romo retirement. Where do they go now? That'll be out on Thursday. And tomorrow, another episode of the Cover Who series. If you've not seen that, that's where I discuss. I've only done 1 episode so far, so there's a good chance you haven't. That's where I discuss a player that, in my opinion, has been somewhat forgotten as time has passed since their retirement. They're not Hall of Famers, but they are very, very good players. Tune in to see who that is. I think it's going to be a really entertaining episode. As always, if you've enjoyed this, like, share, subscribe, check out the Patreon. Check out some more of the videos if you enjoy them. I'm going to hopefully do a live stream for the draft. There'll definitely be something. Once I've figured out exactly what that is, I'll let you guys know. It's been a pleasure as always. Thank you for your time, and go Bucks.